Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, New St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, crossing new frontiers to conquer today's challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, New St. Augustine.
Prior to my experimental discovery of practical parallel supercomputing and my discovery of how to solve a grand challenge problem and how to solve it across a new internet, the fastest computations were recorded on the scalar supercomputers of the late 1940s through early 1970s. The fastest computations were also recorded on the vector supercomputers of the mid-1970s through late 1980s. I first entered into the world of scalar supercomputing on June 20, 1974 at 1800 Southwest Campus Way, Corvallis, Oregon, United States. That scalar supercomputer solved only one initial boundary value problem of calculus at a time. The ensemble of 65,536 processors that I programmed in the 1980s and programmed as a new internet and that made the news headlines in 1989 solved 65,536 initial boundary value problems at once. Initial boundary value problems of calculus are at the foundation of computational physics. 9 in 10 supercomputer cycles consumed in the 1980s were consumed by extreme scale computational physicists. Extreme scale high resolution computational physics is executed across a massively parallel supercomputer that occupies the space of a soccer field. For that reason, computational physics is a branch of physics that lies between theoretical and experimental physics. That is, computational physics is the third branch of physics. That branch of physics is midway between theory and experiment. That branch of physics encompassed both theory and experiment. My experimental discovery of how to solve many initial boundary value problems that are governed by a system of partial differential equations of calculus and governed by its companion and discretized system of partial difference equations of algebra, and my discovery of how to solve them at once opened the door to the parallel supercomputer that is the world's fastest supercomputer that achieves its record-breaking supercomputing speed by solving millions upon millions of initial boundary value problems and solving them at once. In computational physics, my experimental discovery made it possible for the supercomputer of today to reduce the time to solution of the biggest scientific challenges and reduce it from 10.65 million days or 30,000 years to just 1 day. Without parallel supercomputing, a global warming prediction will occur 30,000 years after the said global warming occurred. My quest for the fastest speeds in computing demanded that I parallel process across a new internet, that is a new global network of 64 binary thousand processors. In the 1980s, massively parallel processing defined the boundary of the supercomputer. The reason I am well known but not known well was that I was the first person to enter into the unexplored territory, where the fastest computations can be executed across a new internet. The proof that I entered into that unexplored territory was that I recorded speeds in supercomputing that were previously unrecorded. That contribution made more news headlines than any singular contribution made by an individual to the development of the computer. In the 1970s and 80s, the complete knowledge of the parallel supercomputer was out of the reach of human beings. That is, I parallel processed in that new frontier of knowledge and did so without a map or a textbook. On the 4th of July, 1989, I became the first person to provide practical, in-depth, and easy-to-understand explanations of how to harness millions of processors and how to use those processors to solve a real-world problem that is chopped up into millions of smaller problems. My invention of practical parallel supercomputing made the news headlines because I also discovered how to harness the new supercomputer to solve grand challenge problems that will be otherwise impossible to solve. In the history of computing, the invention of parallel supercomputing is the biggest change in the way we think about the supercomputer. In the old way, the fastest supercomputer solved only one problem at a time or in sequence. In my new way, the fastest supercomputer solved 10 million problems at once or in parallel. I was in the news because I discovered how to experimentally perform 65,536 synchronized parallel communication that was as many times faster than your email. The supercomputer that I programmed in 1974 only computed sequentially and did so within only one central processing unit. The virtual supercomputer that I programmed in the 1980s computed in parallel and did so in the plural senses and communicated across a new internet, that is a new global network of 64 binary thousand processors.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.